Today we are looking at how to use I have had and I had had. I have had is present perfect tense. To make present perfect tense, we use subject, have or has, and the third form of the verb. For example, I have eaten breakfast, or I have taken a shower. There are several reasons why we use present perfect tense. However, I'm not going to explain all of them in this video. What's important right now is that we often use present perfect tense to talk about things that happened in the past without saying exactly when they happened. So when using present perfect tense, we don't usually say past tense times. We don't say yesterday, last week, 2 days ago, or an hour ago. Although we don't mention past times when using present perfect, we can mention the time period in which something happened. However, this needs to be a time period that is still continuing right now, such as today, this week, this month, or this year. So we can't say, I have studied English yesterday. Yesterday is finished. It's not continuing right now, so we can't use it with present perfect. However, you can say, I have studied this week, because this week is still continuing right now. Like I said earlier, to make present perfect, we use subject, have or has, and the third form of the verb. For example, I have eaten breakfast, or I have taken a shower. So if we want to talk about having something, we need the third form of have, which is had. And that is how we get I have had. And actually, when talking about breakfast, we often use the verb have instead of eat. So with the previous example about breakfast, we can say I have eaten breakfast or I have had breakfast. Those both mean the same thing. And obviously, there's also the basic meaning of have for possession. For example, I have 2 dogs. In present perfect, that would be I have had 2 dogs. But I have had 2 dogs is not true, because in my life I have had 4 dogs. I have 2 dogs right now, but I also had 2 other dogs when I was younger. 2 plus 2 is 4. So, in my life, in all of the time, before and including this moment right now, I have had 4 dogs. From here, we can look at I had had, which is past perfect tense. I had had is very similar to I have had, but whereas I have had focuses on right now, I had had focuses on a specific point in the past. Let's say that I got my first dog when I was 10 years old. That means that when I was 9, I had never had a dog. If we went back in time and asked the 9-year-old me about my dogs, the 9-year-old me would say, I have never had a dog. But here, right now, in the present, telling you this story about the past, I need to say, when I was 9, I had never had a dog. Then, when I was 10, I got my first dog. So, if we went back in time and asked the 10-year-old me about my dogs, the 10-year-old me would say, this is the only dog that I have ever had. But here, right now, in the present, telling you this story about the past, I need to say, when I was 10, I had only ever had 1 dog. Then, when I was 16, I got another dog. So the 16-year-old me would say, in my life, I have had 2 dogs. But here, right now, in the present, telling you this story about the past, I need to say, when I was 16, I had had 2 dogs. When I was 21, I got another dog. And just 1 year ago, I got one more dog. So right now, I have 2 dogs. But in total, throughout my life, I have had 4 dogs. Basically, I have means right now. I have had means right now and before right now. And I had means at and before a specific point in the past. One more example that's really quick and simple. Right now, it's 1 p.m. on Tuesday, and I have had lunch. That means that I finished eating lunch sometime before right now. So if someone invites me to have lunch with them, I will say, sorry, I have already had lunch. So tomorrow, Wednesday, if I want to talk about this, I can say, yesterday at 1 p.m., I had already had lunch, and that is why I didn't go to lunch with Megan. I had already had lunch means that I finished eating lunch sometime before that specific point in the past. Sometimes that specific point in the past is mentioned using the specific point in the past. And sometimes it's mentioned using another past tense action. For example, instead of saying at 1 p.m. yesterday, we could say when Megan invited me to lunch. When Megan invited me to lunch, I had already eaten, and that is why I declined her invitation. If you still feel a little bit confused about this topic, that's normal. This is not a simple topic, especially if you haven't learned about past perfect tense before. So if you're still a little bit confused, I recommend that you start by watching some of the videos that I already have about present perfect tense and past perfect tense. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.